what's going on here. It's lighting up. There's an LED inside it. It's a Maracas, of course, but there's a handle and there's batteries in the handle. It's lighting up very nicely, but it's egg-shaped. That's the interesting thing. So I thought I'd look through a few more egg toys, a few more of them. I've got a lot of them, and we need a little more light for that. So let's get some more lights up, and I'll show you. The first four are all sound toys. That's the first one. The second one is also Maracas, but it's just an egg without a handle, and it doesn't light up, but it's got a nice name. Look at that. Chicken shake. And yes, chip, 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 chip. I'll put it near my microphone and you can hear that. Now if you put the two together, it sounds really, really musical. You can actually make use of the fact that you've got two different, slightly different sounds from the seeds inside. So Maracas from plastic eggs, making a very nice effect. Here's a much more interesting one because it's metal and it makes a very musical sound indeed. It's beautiful. It's a silver one, but if I shake this and now put it near the microphone, that is very pretty. It's a lovely sound. There's a little, probably a little wooden ball hitting little chime bars. What I particularly like doing with it is spinning it because it loves to spin on its point up there. That's what it likes to do. So I put it horizontally. It'll come up on the point if I do it hard enough. Miraculously. Prefers that rather than spinning on that, which is the more obvious way for statics. You think that would be what it would do, but no, it wants to spin on its top. So hard spin, and up she comes. Do it a little bit harder. Ooh, a little bit harder still. There we are. And it's still chiming too. That's very special. Very nice effect. And the fourth one of the sound toys, of the sound eggs, is this one here, which is a little battery operated job for small children. You open it up and what happens? Ah, cheep, 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 cheep. Can you hear it? I'll put it nearer my microphone. It's cheeping. It's got a tiny little light diode inside it, which has been going for years instead, or the battery has, and I think I could probably take it out. There we are. He's cheeping away, but when it's in the dark, it shuts up. So I keep it in there, and that preserves the battery. So the first four eggs, all eggs which make noises. Very nice ones too. Some eggs are magic tricks, I think of these as. They're ones which do something extraordinary. What you've got to try and do and challenge people to get it to stand up on its end like that. And it doesn't want to do it. So what you do is you hold it like that secretly in your pocket. And then when you stand it up on the end, it does stand up, only for a short time. And I'll show you with the white egg what happens inside, because there's something very clever going on with this. This is made by a German company, Pussy Puzzles, or Pussycat Puzzles, and Herr Breiter was running that for many years. You are going to sleep, and it falls down after a short pause. You can leave it a little bit longer, and it'll, after about usually 5 to 10 seconds, it'll fall over. What's happening inside to make that happen? Well, here's one which I broke apart to see what's happening inside. Oh, it's a sand timer. Look at that. It's a sand timer which is completely central, centre is what you expect. But look at the one inside that it's going to go in. The second little hopper is very, very, it's like a D, it's like a D shape. It's all one-sided. So when the sand falls into there, which is now the thing's bound to topple over because it's not sitting in the centre. So that's what's happening there. When I hold it like this in my pocket, it all collects in that way up, and it all collects very nicely in the central, in the nice symmetrical hopper. When I turn it over, it starts pouring into that little off-centre one, and then, oh, what fun it is, because it falls over. So leave it like that. You're going to sleep, sleep, sleep. This is a nice long one, about 10 seconds. Sleep, sleep. And then it goes. How did that happen? Well, now you know the answer. Brilliant. Here's a very nice puzzle egg, one of the very earliest ones I picked up in the 1980s, I think it was. It's made of acrylic plastic, and it's a very difficult three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. You take off the centrepiece, it all comes into pieces, and it's really quite a fiend to put together again, because it's all transparent pieces. You don't know what you're looking at, from which side or whatever it is. So, a jolly difficult puzzle, really, for people to play with, for probably for a few days, actually, to solve it, I think, I suspect. By contrast, here's a very simple little one for small children. It's a wind-up egg, and it's got a face and mouth and a cheerful action like that. So that's a wind-up hopping egg. Just the thing you want for Easter Day. Ah, well. Then there's these wonderful ones which I picked up in 1986 in Japan, when they're starting to create these wonderful eggs which transformed or morphed into other shapes. And each of these eggs opens up, and they were really quite complicated. Some of them are extraordinary. You've got lots and lots of things. This is one of the insects. I've forgotten what they call it, but you'll recognise it in a minute when I get all the things out. The nice bit of it is when you close the egg at the back behind it, it creates the body. And now we've got all these limbs to put down. There's about 6 or 7 of them, and it's got this. Look at that! Oh my goodness! It's actually very realistic as a piece when it's finished. One of those funny creatures. And it's got these long arms, and it eats other creatures. And then this one here, which is a speckled one, and this, I think I've now got about 10 or 15 of these, but these are the very earliest ones I discovered in 1986 when they first started making these. And every one of them is really a puzzle, because you've got to learn to manipulate it. I had to learn to swivel that, for instance, when I first opened it up, because I didn't know what you're supposed to do, and swivel that. And again, this is a creature with 6 legs, and when you close the body up behind it, it's going to form the body of the creature. There we are. It's quite a nice little creature there with red eyes and 6 legs, crawling along the ground on the thing. There we are. Put them up there. And the last one, I think there's quite a new range coming of these. Just recent, every now and then they have a little splurge of these, and start to create new ones. This one's nice because it's got little wheels actually, so it actually would run along a little way. But let's get the head out. There we are. There's the head with a mouth which is going to open like that. And it's a dinosaur, I think, probably, because it's got a big tail like that and legs making it look as though it should be a dinosaur. I think I must just finish up. There we are. Yes, that's probably a dinosaur. Put him on the table and see if you can recognise it as a... And he's got little wheels, so he does actually run along if you wanted him to. So a very nice little range of the transformer ones, the morphing ones. And then I've got 2 more of these. I quite like these. They're all just ordinary ballpoint pens, or some of them pencils. And when you squeeze them, a thing pops up. And this is a little chicken. Here we are. Put them close to the camera, and then like that. The other one I prefer really, because it's a little bear egg it is, or it's a monkey or something. But he does a little pop up in the air because the base is not fixed, so it does a little woof. Oh, I love that. I love a little jump in the air as if it's skipping. Very nice. And the biro then retracts, the ballpoint retracts, and you can then stop writing with it. The last one is the most exotic one. It's a rotating egg. It's a kind of toy which you can make the egg rotate non-stop just by putting a bit of effort into it. I'm putting it on a board where someone had invented this idea about 20 years ago, I think it was, and it was first done with the top before it done with the egg. And the idea is to spin it and then to move this around like that, and you can keep that going for hours and hours if you've got the stamina to do it. So you just keep moving like that, because that downward move is giving it a bit of impetus. So I think about 15 years ago at New York Toy Fair, I saw people outside the Javits on a nice February day, very warm, which it sometimes is, about 12 people around it, 3 this side, 3 this side, 3 this side, all holding a huge board, and they didn't have a top in it in the middle, they had an egg, and I think it was one of these marble eggs. What they were trying to do is real teamwork. They set it running, and then they all had to move their arms to make sure that as the ball came down towards them, they lower their arms to create that downward movement. So I'll set it spinning, if I can, a little bit faster, Spider, and then you get the idea of this. But I'm just doing it with one person and a pair of hands. But imagine doing that with a whole team of people on a giant board, and with tremendous teamwork, you can keep that going for, well, they made it going for about 5 minutes, I think, before they gave up. Very impressive indeed. The spinning egg based on the spinning top. So some very, very clever things, all with the egg shape, and there's such inventiveness going on in it. I think I've got about 120 altogether, but I'll be probably showing about 60 altogether in my collection, because I don't like repeating things too much. But that's, I think, my favourite one. It's such a lovely idea.